Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing my driving review of the 2024 Lexus TX 350 all-wheel drive luxury trim level. And I want to keep this video very brief because I've made a couple other videos on this vehicle and I'm a little bit pressed for time. But anyways, I want to go ahead and run my normal route with this vehicle, give you my overall impressions over the last about 5 days. It was a little bit shorter of a week with this particular vehicle just because a few things happened. But as usual, we're going to start with the acceleration test before we get into this review. Overall acceleration, not terrible for a vehicle like this, but you certainly feel the buzziness and I would say lack of displacement might be a good word. It's not terrible, like I said, but it is a turbocharged four-cylinder. So under the hood of the TX 350, you're going to find the 2.4-liter turbocharged four-cylinder, 275 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque, either through the front wheels only or all four wheels with all-wheel drive, although it still is primarily a front-wheel drive-based system. And I think it's fine. It's adequate power levels. If you guys have watched one of the other videos here on the channel, then you'll know that I actually compare this vehicle to a Hyundai Palisade, drove them back to back, and you certainly felt the 3.8 liter naturally aspirated V6 felt a little bit more suitable in a vehicle of, the midsize three-row category. But I think even with that said, the 2.4 liter turbo is fine for pretty much everybody out there. There's never been a time where I'm like pressed for power because it's so slow or so underwhelming or, anything like that. I would just say, it's adequate, it's good enough for day-to-day basis. Now, with that being said, you are generally, ringing the engine out a little bit more than maybe some higher output versions, with the turbo V6 or, naturally aspirated V6, naturally aspirated V8, etc. So the one area I think you might be hit or dinged with is the fuel economy. So the fuel economy, I've been averaging right around 19 to 20 mpg in mostly city types of driving. Now, this vehicle is rated at 20 mpg city, so I have been, I would say almost getting the rated fuel economy for this vehicle, which is, good to see. Now, when you compare this to some of the competition, other vehicles in this size category, those have different size, displacement, number of cylinders, and they also get nearly 20 mpg. So, are you really getting any additional fuel economy from the turbocharged four-cylinder? I'm not so sure about that. Obviously everyone real world conditions are going to be different, but I would say you're going to get very similar fuel economy to probably any naturally aspirated V6 out there. Somewhat to do with the fact that you are ringing out the turbo four-cylinder in acceleration, 3,000-4,000 RPM before the transmission shifts. Other aspects is just, how the engine's designed and your driving habits, everything like that. Now, moving on to some of the overall ergonomics in the cabin of this vehicle. I really do like a lot of the interior of the Lexus TX, especially over that of the sister vehicle, the Toyota Grand Highlander. I like the infotainment system layout better, even though it uses a lot of the same UI. The climate controls are built into the very bottom of the screen. You have a very similar digital cluster in front of the driver, similar eye tracking device, which I don't like. We'll get to that a little bit later in this video. All the materials, including the leather seats, the door panels, everything is put together extremely well. And I've had no complaints with any of the ergonomics functionality. Now, I will say this is a pre-production vehicle, so not in a final production spec. And I have not been able to find anything that's really wrong with this vehicle. So I'm sure it was very close to final production, but the vehicle I'm driving is actually a pre-production vehicle, not to be retailed to the general public. So yeah, the sound system's great. It has the upgraded Mark Levinson, I believe it's 21 speaker audio system, tons of power. Really do enjoy that. Has, of course, the heads-up display, heated and ventilated first and second row seats. Love that. This is the 6-passenger configuration, so they do offer a 7-passenger as standard equipment with a bench in the center row versus the captain's chairs. You have the digital rear view camera mirror, which I do like in that the camera for the camera mirror is located inside of the vehicle. So essentially, if you clean the glass via the washer fluid and the windshield wiper on the back, or it's raining and you just use the wiper for the rear of the vehicle, it actually cleans the entire glass, which in turn cleans the camera. A little bit of a side benefit there, but maybe it was designed intentionally to be, you know, located behind the glass in a safer and a cleaner environment. Now we are coming up to my bumpy section of road, so I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about the ride quality and overall ergonomics. But the interior cabin has been very pleasant to be within over a daily basis. It's very isolating inside. This one does have the optional 22-inch alloy wheels, which obviously gives you a lower side profile tire. But even with that, you know, the ride quality has still been very, very good. I've had no complaints with it. And road noise, everything like that, you know, wind noise is very isolating inside, which is great and somewhat to be expected for a vehicle, you know, in the, you know, $60,000 to $70,000 price tag, depending on how you equip this vehicle. This one that I'm currently driving is right at the $70,000 price tag with all of the available option packages and a few additional accessories. But going over this bumpy section of road here, very, very comfortable inside the cabin, you know, for a non-adaptive or electronic adjustable suspension. Very, very good. Feels very refined, very sturdy, very solid. Yeah, I mean, I've had no complaints. Now I'm sure with the standard 20-inch wheels, that would be even slightly more comfortable, but you might lose out on a little bit of handling and driving dynamics. But I wouldn't think it would be too much of a penalty, but that might be a slight trade-off, but one I'd be willing to make because these 22-inch alloy wheels absolutely look fantastic on the outside and really do kind of bring the overall aesthetic together in terms of appearance. In terms of visibility inside the cabin, I've gone over this in some other videos, plenty of visibility. You have a great visibility over the hood. You have a little bit of gap here between the mirror and the A-pillar due to the door-mounted mirrors, which is actually good. Nice large side rear view mirrors. Of course, you have the digital rear camera mirror, or you can flip it down for the auto dimming. And even using the traditional rear mirror here, you can see there's plenty of glass out of the hatch area, and I have no complaints there. So visibility is very good. You got the panoramic sunroof, which lets in a little bit of additional light on a cloudy day like this, and does open up the cabin, especially with the slightly darker color interior that this particular vehicle is equipped with. So really good visibility, no complaints with the overall size. And looking over the shoulder, the side glass is certainly a pro, or the way they design the exterior is a benefit to the driver because you have nearly no blind spots. And then even with that said, you do have the blind spot detection on the side mirrors, which can help in those situations where you may catch somebody at the wrong angle or anything like that. So yeah, very good visibility, really no major complaints in that regard. Of course, going back to some of the climate controls and the usability, I like the automatic heated and ventilated seats and heated steering wheel. That's something that sets this vehicle apart from the Toyota Grand Highlander, is that Lexus typically does the automatic ventilation for the seats. So that works out very good, and I think it actually works fairly well on those chilly days. It actually turns on the heated steering wheel and of course the heated seat on a lower setting automatically. Okay, so turning onto the interstate here, my normal route, we'll go ahead and send it a little spiritedly. Hear the turbocharged 4-cylinder whining out a little bit. About 60 miles an hour here. About 65 actually. And you know, acceleration isn't that bad. I mean, it's, you know, up to 75 miles an hour without any issue. You just do hear a little bit of that buzzy, you know, 4-cylinder here inside of the cabin. Now, activating the driver assistance technology is very easy in, you know, most Toyota Lexus vehicles. Simply push the button, sets your current speed as well as turns on the lane keeping assist systems. Now, this is a hands-on driver assistance technology, Toyota Safety Sense or Lexus Safety Sense 3.0, or their latest iteration in both software and hardware. And you know, going down the roadway, it does use the eye tracking monitor to make sure you are paying attention while using these systems. But you know, I like Toyota and Lexus's driver safety systems quite a lot. I think it works very well. It centers you in the lane. You know, it does kind of bug you once in a while to keep your hands on the wheel, which obviously you should be doing when you're driving a vehicle like this. But you know, I don't think I have any major complaints with the usage or, you know, how to use the system. Now you do have the touch type controls here on the steering wheel, which some people may like, some people may not. I'm kind of indifferent to them. I think it is cool how it interacts with the heads-up display in front of the driver. So when you hover your hand or touch the button, it gives you a preview as to which button you're about to press. But I think it works fine. You know, you can adjust your gap distance and everything very easily with using the heads-up display and the steering wheel controls here. But the overall noise levels inside the cabin are very reasonable. I would say it's not, you know, super ultra luxury car quiet on the inside, but it's certainly way better than most mainstream vehicles out there. And again, the 22-inch alloy wheels might come down and hurt you a little bit in terms of tire and road noise. Now getting on to this off-ramp here and sending it around about 40 miles an hour, I'm actually pretty impressed how neutral the chassis feels. You can feel it just start to push just a little bit, but then when you think it's going to start understeering a lot, the back end almost like, you know, starts coming around a little bit just to help you out. So I think it actually feels quite balanced in, you know, handling. So I think that's a, you know, a benefit. Not that anybody that's, you know, driving this vehicle or buying it is going to be, you know, hustling it around corners, but I think it can hold its own for what it is and depending on what tire you put on it. So before we go ahead and wrap up this video, I do want to mention some of the pros and cons, I guess, of some of the seating positions out in the back or the rear of this vehicle. Now, make sure to check out the walk-around video if you guys want to know and see more about the interior of this vehicle. But the Lexus TX and the Toyota Grand Highlander are some of the biggest in the segment for the available third row legroom and just overall passenger volume in the rear of this vehicle. Now, some of that has to do with the overall length. This vehicle is just over 203 inches long. But you can fit full-size adults very comfortably in the third row of this vehicle, not only due to the legroom, but also how high the bottom of the seat is mounted. I really do appreciate them putting that engineering and design into this vehicle and being able to accommodate a full-size adult in the third row. I think that is something you don't find generally in this segment. You do have to step up to a large three-row SUV, such as like a Suburban, a Yukon XL, an Escalade, Extended, etc., just to get similar amounts of room back there for, you know, adults. Now, with that being said, there were some creature comforts and amenities back there that are good, but maybe not as competitive, or some things that are missing that you will find on some lesser equipped vehicles. Now, is that a big deal for most people? Probably not. But, you know, things like the heated third row seats are not found back there. You have things like, you do get the power adjustments for the recline, which is very good, but you do not get power release folding second row captain's chairs in the cargo area or inside of the vehicle. They are manual levers that you have to adjust. So there's some minor, you know, feature equipment things back there that, you know, I kind of would expect in a vehicle of this price point and segment that are missing and would be good, easy to use on a day-to-day basis. Now, speaking of the second row folding seats and not having the electronic adjustments, it's actually a two-step process. It took me a few seconds to figure out. But basically, I put a 1x10 by 8 foot long board in here, and it just came up in front of the first row seats here onto the center console. So that kind of gave me a sense of that you can almost fit an 8 foot long object that's fairly sizable in width, you know, pushing 4 feet inside of the cargo area with both rows of seats folded down. So I was impressed with the available cargo area, the height, the width, everything like that. I think it's very, very competitive and one of the larger in the midsize 3-row segment once again. So I would say for a family, you know, of 2, 3, 4 potentially, you could use this vehicle and really have similar levels of room to that of a minivan. Now, obviously, when you're using or comparing this vehicle to a minivan, the minivan will probably win out in slightly more, you know, space overall, as well as the cargo area with the storage behind the third row seats, typically how those fold underneath the floor. This vehicle, obviously, you are limited in available cargo space. So I would say with a family of 2 or 3, this is probably going to be a reasonable sized vehicle for you if you do not want to go the minivan route. But, you know, if you have any more than 3 children or people that you're hauling around daily, you might want to look into a minivan or something larger in terms of the SUV size, because I could see how this could be tight with any sort of, you know, additional cargo needs with the passengers inside of this vehicle. But with that being said, the cargo space definitely holds its own and is very, very, good for a vehicle like this. So I think that's going to wrap up this review of the Lexus TX 350. Like I said, it was a little bit of a shorter week, so unfortunately I was not able to film a dedicated likes and dislikes with this vehicle. But make sure you guys stay tuned and check out some of the other content I have here available with this vehicle. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video and or found it helpful, make sure to hit that like button below. It greatly helps out the channel's videos. Subscribe if you haven't already. And let me know what you think of the Lexus TX, if you've had any hands-on experience. Heck, if you own the vehicle, maybe you own the Grand Highlander, etc. Let me know what your ownership experience is like and what you think of the vehicle versus, not only the sister vehicle, but some of the other competitors in the class. I think this is something I could certainly recommend, although I think the biggest aspect that is a negative in my opinion is probably going to be the turbocharged 4-cylinder, which thankfully Lexus does offer some other available powertrains for the TX, including a hybrid as well as a plug-in hybrid model, which actually comes with a naturally aspirated V6, which is something that was kind of unexpected when they released this vehicle in the plug-in hybrid variant. To put the naturally aspirated V6 in only that configuration. But anyways, yeah, make sure you guys check out the Lexus TX if you guys are interested. I think it is certainly worth cross-shopping and checking out at least a few of the available powertrain options inside this vehicle, because I think I'd probably recommend the regular hybrid for most people out there, even though this one that I'm driving might be the more volume option. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Now, I want to give a huge thanks to Lexus for sending this vehicle out for me to test and review for you guys. It has been an awesome experience. I'm glad I finally got behind the wheel of the TX for several days. Now, once again, hope you guys enjoyed it. I appreciate the continued support here on the channel. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And as always, hope to see you guys in the next one.